All right, let's dive in. We're starting our story today in Hastings, Minnesota. The date is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. Now, the big story, of course, is this dangerous cold snap moving in. But here's what's so interesting. What else has happened on this exact date throughout history? We're going to get to that, but first, let's talk about this cold.
Yeah, if you're in Hastings today, you know exactly what this means. It's not just cold, it's a physical feeling. That bite is the kind of cold that wakes you up way faster than a cup of coffee. So what does that bite actually look like in numbers?
Okay, so let's translate that feeling, that bite, into actual numbers, because this is not your run-of-the-mill winter day. The temperature today is doing something, well, something really weird. So the high for the day, a brisk 9 degrees Fahrenheit. But here's the crazy part. That's happening mid-morning. After that, the whole day basically goes in reverse. And I mean, it is a steep drop. By tonight, we're talking about plummeting all the way down to -19. That's a huge swing, nearly 30 degrees, and it's all going in the wrong direction. But believe it or not, that's not even the scariest number.
Okay, this is the number you really need to pay attention to. The wind is going to make it feel like -40. And at that temperature, we're talking about frostbite on exposed skin in just a matter of minutes. This is no joke. It's truly life-threatening cold.
So this table kind of lays it all out for us. The real villain here, it's not just the temperature, it's the wind. You've got this relentless west-northwest wind, gusting up to 25 miles per hour. And that's the engine driving this whole deep freeze. It's what turns a cold day into a really dangerous one.
All right, so if you're one of those people who plans their errands for the afternoon, thinking it'll be the warmest part of the day, you're going to have to scrap that plan. Today's temperature profile is completely backwards. Let's just walk through it so you can see what I mean. So here's that weird U-turn I was talking about. We get this quick little bump up to 9 degrees this morning right as an Arctic front is moving in. But once that front passes, by the afternoon, we're already dipping into the negatives. It's just this one long, continuous slide into the deep freeze, bottoming out tonight at a frigid -19. And of course, the National Weather Service is all over this. They've issued back-to-back alerts. Let's break them down. The warning that kicks in tonight, that means the danger is here, it's happening right now. It's serious. Then the watch that follows, that's basically them saying, hey, this isn't over yet. They're keeping a super close eye on things to see if another warning is going to be needed. So how do you stay safe in this? Honestly, it's all about the practical stuff. You've got to cover every single bit of exposed skin. We're talking hat, mittens, something for your face. The wind is the real enemy here. Keep any trips outside as short as you possibly can. And you know what? Throw an extra blanket and some gloves in your car, just in case. And it should go without saying, but every single pet needs to be inside tonight. No exception. All right, to lighten the mood just a little bit before we switch gears, here's a little local humor for you. The forecast says rising to 9 degrees Fahrenheit, then falling. Looks like the Hastings weather just did a U-turn downtown. I mean, it's a pretty fitting joke for a day with a temperature curve this bizarre, right? You know, for everyone on Hastings, January 22nd, 2026 is going to be remembered for this absolutely brutal cold. But that got me thinking. Every single day on the calendar has its own history, its own story. So what else has happened on January 22nd throughout the years? Let's zoom out a bit. Okay, let's crack open a time capsule for January 22nd. We're going to look at 3 really different moments that, in their own way, were just as impactful for people back then as this cold snap is for Hastings today. So our journey is going to start back in 1912 with a piece of engineering that just seemed impossible. Then we'll jump to 1967 for a moment that completely changed the sound of Minnesota, and we'll wrap it up in 1968 with a really critical step on our path to landing on the moon. All right, first stop, 1912. On this very day, a train did something that people thought was impossible. It steamed right into Key West, Florida, by traveling over the open ocean. This overseas railway was an absolute marvel of its time. It connected this long string of isolated islands to the mainland, and really, it reshaped the entire future of Florida. Okay, now let's jump forward in time, right back to Minnesota. On this date in 1967, a brand new radio signal went out over the airwaves from Collegeville. That one little station would grow up to become Minnesota Public Radio, you know it, NPR, which is now a total cornerstone of media and culture in the state and way beyond. And just 1 year later, on the exact same date in 1968, our ambitions turned upward, towards the stars. NASA launched the unmanned Apollo 5 mission. Now, its whole job, its entire purpose, was to test this funky-looking vehicle, the lunar module. And think about this. Without this one successful test, there's just no way Neil Armstrong would have been able to land on the moon.
So, isn't that something? We have one single day on the calendar. In Hastings, today, it's a day of hunkering down, right? A day of isolation that's forced by this dangerous cold. But that very same date in history marks these moments of the complete opposite of connection, connecting remote islands with a railway, connecting an entire state through the radio, and connecting all of humanity to the dream of walking on the moon. It's this incredible paradox, a day of both isolation and connection.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As you go through your day, whether you're battling the cold in Hastings or just navigating your normal routines somewhere else, what's happening right now? What seemingly small event is unfolding that future generations might look back on as a huge milestone? You know, what history is being made on your ordinary day?